I'm really quite interested in why Americans right now started to turn to fascism. What are the specific, the patterns or some causes that led to it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pretty nuanced topic, and I wouldn't say there's a simple answer that everyone agrees on. A lot of the discussions point to a mix of social and economic factors like economic anxiety, demographic changes, or a sense of political alienation that can sometimes make more extreme rhetoric appealing to certain groups. But at the same time, it's important to remember that these are debates and theories, not a universal consensus. There's a lot of push and pull in American society, and not everyone sees it as a turn to fascism so much as a period of heightened polarization and intense political rhetoric. So it's a big conversation, and I'm definitely happy to explore it more if you'd like.
So if Democrats worked better on economic policy, so there might not be, fascism elements in American society?
I see where you're going with that. Well, that's a really interesting hypothetical angle. It's tough to say for sure whether one party's economic policies alone would completely change the presence of extreme rhetoric or those kind of elements. Political and social dynamics are influenced by a lot of different factors, not just economic policy, but I can say that economic conditions do often shape political sentiment. If people feel more economically secure, that might reduce some frustrations or the appeal of more extreme ideas. It's just that political landscapes are complicated and there's rarely a single solution or cause, but it's definitely a good point for discussion.
So how do we compare it to historical patterns in Europe?
That's a great question. If we look at historical patterns in Europe, especially in the early 20th century, the rise of fascism there was usually tied to a pretty severe combination of economic collapse, social upheaval, and political instability after World War I. In those cases, you had really widespread economic desperation and a breakdown of trust in democratic institutions, which made it easier for authoritarian movements to take hold. Now, comparing that to the US today, the context is really different. The US has a longer and more stable democratic tradition, and while there are certainly some intense divisions and economic challenges, it's not quite the same scenario as Europe back then, but historians do look at those bad-ends as cautionary tales and reminders of how important it is to keep democratic norms strong. So it's a useful historical lens, even if the situations are identical.